Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 155. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Nintendo Switch 2, Daredevil Born Again, Marvel's What If Season 3, Spider-Man 2 PS5, and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activities, and I will let Damian go first.
Yeah, so this last 2 weeks I've kind of just been replaying a bunch of stuff, and obviously I've been playing my Zenless Zone Zero. I've done with it for a little bit. I caught up with the current content. Like I said in the last podcast, the game is unironically very good, and I really like it a lot. Like I finished like the last major like story moment, and it was like the shit's like fucking pog. But like I mentioned, I ranted about the whole gacha system before. Like I still think that shit's lame as hell. But I guess if they could produce high quality content like this at like 1 month intervals, I guess I'll take it. But again, gacha I'm still not a fan of like at all. Like just, never will be a fan. I don't like gambling in games. Buying $100 worth of microtransactions doesn't even give you a character guaranteed, which is insane. But, besides all that, I still think the game is fantastic. I'm really excited for the next update in like a week, I think, actually. So I won't be done with it entirely, but probably for this podcast, I'm going to be done talking about it. But it's a fun ass game. I really like it a lot. And I can see myself coming back to it with my regular live service games like, Warframe, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite. I could see it being in that rotation now since doing all my daily stuff takes like 10 minutes, which is pretty nice. I feel like one problem with some other live service games is, especially like Marvel Rivals, like I feel like it's really hard to like get your dailies done if you're not like playing it. Like you're not committing like a few hours to it because it's like doing stuff takes forever in that fucking game if you just want to get your battle pass XP or whatever. Luckily it doesn't go away or anything once you buy it, but it's still like kind of annoying. Like Marvel Rivals is obviously a lot of fun, but like try to do like that stuff is kind of annoying. But anyway, Zenless Zone Zero, really fun game. Hoyoverse finally got me. It's over. So next up, I've been kind of like replaying a bunch of stuff. So obviously Spider-Man 2, which we're going to have a big discussion about that in a second. But I also really want to replay, and I'm going to do the Travis thing. Oh, look at this. Pokemon Y. So yeah, X and Y, Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out, should be this year. I think we'll learn more about it in Pokemon Day in like February. I forget what day, but they should be announcing it when its release date. That game is going to be heavily based on Kalos and X and Y. So I really want to give X and Y another shot. I've been meaning to do this for a few years already. I wanted to do it for its 10-year anniversary, which was in 2023, but a bunch of games were coming out that year, so I didn't have time for that. And in 2024, I had a bunch of games. So this year, I'm like, okay, I'm going to actually like replay X and Y and see how I think about the game now, since, like I said, probably my least favorite generation, and not because it's like bad necessarily, it's just like really boring. Like out of all the Pokemon generations, besides maybe like Gen 8, which is also like Gen 6, they're just kind of boring. There's not a lot to their regions that make them special. Like this game in particular is very like riding off Gen 1 a lot. And I get that, it's the first mainline Pokemon game in 3D. I do like a lot of systems introduced. Obviously, the games being in 3D, Fairy type being introduced in this generation. Mega Evolution is cool. But besides that, like I've only played like maybe 4-ish hours at the moment. And it just feels like a remake of Gen 1. Like the Elite Four is right next to the second town. You have like not Viridian Forest. You get the Kanto starters. Like everything about it feels like, hey, remember Gen 1? Like it's like Gen 1, but like we're in 3D now, even though it's not a remake. And I feel like it just makes Kalos lose a lot of its identity as like in a region. Like the main city, Lumino City, is cool, and that's where most of ZA is gonna be at. And but I feel like they don't do much with its like French fucking like inspiration besides that. Like, oh, here's the Eiffel Tower, and that's it. I feel like they could have done a bit more with that. I'm not too far yet to give like a full like thoughts about it again just yet, because I've just been playing it really slowly. But I'm still enjoying it because it is Pokemon. It basically is like the last, I guess, like classic sort of Pokemon game. Like it's very like you have HMs, you could explore the overworld just like the other games, just like in 3D or whatever. When Sun and Moon came out, that's when they really started to change how like the overall structure of the games worked. Like Gen 7 had the island trials. Gen 8 was like, it also had gyms, but it was a bit weird with the wild areas and stuff. And then Gen 9 was all open world. So this was kind of the last generation that was like, just a Pokemon ass game. But because of that, it just feels very generic. It doesn't help that I don't really like a lot of the new Pokemon in this generation. Like, Gen 8, again, like I said, I feel the same way about like how I feel about X and Y, where it's just a very boring like generation. But I really did like the Pokedex in Gen 8, which is, Sword and Shield if you don't know. And the wild areas really saved that game as well. Like I feel like X and Y doesn't really have any of those things. So it kind of just feels like, yeah, I am playing a Pokemon game. It is the Pokemon game of all time right now. And, I know people really, really like this game now because, a lot of people that are younger than us, maybe like 20 or something at the moment, like they grew up with this game. Like this is like their like Gen 4 or like their like Gen 1 or whatever, right? So I know this game has like a lot of nostalgia for people, but I don't really have that with this game. So I want to see like, me playing it again, see how I really feel. But yeah, right now is basically like I'm having fun because it's Pokemon, but that's a pretty, low bar because I'm always gonna have fun playing Pokemon. So we'll see as I keep going. But maybe I won't be as much of a hater with Gen 6 anymore, but we'll see. I mean, I like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. It's just that X and Y has always been kind of meh.
Yeah, X and Y was my last Pokemon experience, and I haven't revisited the franchise since. I mean, I'm not that attached to the Pokemon games. Obviously, the anime was something that I grew up heavily on, but I haven't touched a Pokemon game since X and Y. And, I do have Legends Arceus, and I definitely want to play that maybe later this year. We'll see.
All right, so next is Donkey Kong Country Returns. So they they ported the game on Switch, and I was really in the mood to play it. And I'm like, oh, it's $60. I'm not gonna do that. So at first I was just like, okay, I could play it on Wii. This is my original copy from like 2010. When someone said it was 15 years ago, I'm like, holy shit. Yep. I'm getting old. When someone said like Sonic 06 is gonna be like 20 next year, and my heart sank. I'm like, holy shit. But anyway, Donkey Kong Country Returns, I really, really like this game a lot. And it's been a while since I played it. But, I didn't feel like setting up my Wii or whatever. And since I had my 3DS out, I remember I owned the fucking 3DS version of this game. So I was just like, you know what? Sure. It's been forever since I played this game in general. And it's been like 10-ish years since I played the 3DS version. So, just playing it. And honestly, it's like a pretty good port. I saw my save file from like 2013 when I played it originally. I beat it and everything. Like I did the secret level in the Wii version. I don't think I did any of the secret levels in the 3DS version. But honestly, it's like a pretty good port for what it is. And the Switch version is basically based on this version anyway. It's just in HD because it has the same bonus world or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, I could just play the 3DS version. It's like the same shit anyway. Obviously, like on 3DS, the frame rate's cut in half. It's not 60 FPS, it's 30, which kind of sucks. But for the most part, it feels good. Like, there's obviously no motion controls. You don't have to like shake the Wiimote to do the ground poundy thing. You don't have to, I think I do some other motion control to do like Donkey Kong like blows on a flower or whatever the fuck. You don't have to do any of that. All that's controlled through the button inputs. And it feels great. Like, honestly, like I thought, I did it as a meme at first. I'm like, let's see how this like actually like feels because I forgot. And honestly, it feels pretty good. Like the only awkward thing is when you have to hold the shoulder buttons to climb on stuff because just doing that, like, it just feels kind of awkward on my 3DS. I have the new 2DS XL. I bought that right before they discontinued it a few years ago, just for like preservation's sake. But honestly, like it's a good time. Like this game is very good. Like if you guys never played this game because it is old at this point, like I said, I wouldn't say no to buying the Switch version, but just know that version is very expensive. And if you have a 3DS lying around, you can find this on eBay for like $30 or something. So I think it's better if you just buy this version and just save the money. But Donkey Kong Country Returns, still a very fun platformer, very creative levels. The minecart sections and the rocket barrel stuff still kind of sucks because you die instantly, and the game is still pretty tough. But I like that. Like I like the game does have like teeth. Like it is pretty hard. And I do want to play Tropical Freeze. I don't know if like when, but I do want to play Tropical Freeze because I've never played that game. I bought it on Switch when they released it and just never fucking played it. Like I bought it in like 2018 that remaster came out, which is insane, by the way. And I just never played it. So I would like to play Tropical Freeze, but I just want to revisit this game again. And I'm glad I did because I have a lot of nostalgia for it and it's a very fun time and I didn't feel like spending $60 on it. So yeah. All right. So last thing I've been doing is I watched all Squid Game 2. I basically like binged all of it because I was just like, I was like enjoying it, so I'm like, I'll fucking just watch the rest of it. Obviously, I don't think it's as good as the first Squid Game. It kind of ends in a very like, this is part one of a part two situation. So like, I think a lot of people were mad about that. Like, it's very like this is a part one to a part two story. But I think overall, I really did like it. Like, I thought the first episode was very good. I think you've seen that first episode, and I was
saw
this is
the first three somewhere around there. So.
Yeah, so like the first episode I thought was very good. Like, it was very tense. I love the I won't say too much, but I love the character in it. If you know, you know, and like the whole scenes of it were very tense. Loved it. And I think it really keeps that up throughout the whole time. And I think why some people don't like it as much is because there isn't too many focus on like the games. Like I think they play like 3 games, and one of them you already know, it's red light, green light, like that's shown in all the trailers. And then there's some new games, and I think those new games are great. But some people aren't as attached to the new characters. I personally really like a lot of the new characters. I love my boy Thanos because he's fucking weird. I saw he was getting some hate. I don't know why. Like I love how fucking weird he was. So I really enjoyed that. The games are still very creative, very tense. I do feel like the B plot really isn't as good because like it doesn't really go anywhere. Obviously, like part 2 is gonna happen, and they're probably gonna do stuff with that. But right now, it definitely felt a lot weaker than Squid Game season 1's like B plot. Like I just wasn't as into it this time, mostly because nothing fucking happens for them. But like when they're in the games, it's great. Like I said, I like a lot of the new characters. I think the new games they play are great. I'm really excited to see where they're gonna go with season 2 and how it handles like the rest of the Squid Game shit. Like I don't know if this is like the last Squid Game thing, like at least for the Korean side of things, because I know Netflix is gonna milk the fuck out of this. Like they have like Squid Game America and Squid Game, like they're gonna do a bunch of stuff. But in terms of this version, like the original version, the Korean version, I think it's great because it doesn't lose sight of like what the series is really about, which is like we live in a society and like money and like corruption, all that stuff. Like I think this season really doubles down on that. Like these games fucking suck, and like it kind of goes into like the whole psychology of human greed and stuff, which is really what Squid Game is about. When you see other parodies of it, like I think people get lost in the sauce. Is like this is about the fun games, you do the death games, and like that's not really the point of Squid Game. It really is like the rich versus the poor and like how they take advantage of all this stuff. Very big social comedy. Like it's not subtle at all about it, but I think it works really well. Like like I mentioned this a few times in the podcast. Like I think it's fine for things not to be super subtle at times because people still don't fucking get it. So I think it's fine to really like lay out their message like full front, right? And I think this season really tackles that a lot more. But yeah, overall I enjoy it. I don't think it's as good as season 1 at the moment, but I'm gonna have to wait for part 2. But I did enjoy it a lot. I thought it was really good.
Okay, so first thing I did was I watched a new movie called Babygirl. This is the newest A24 film. Just to give you a synopsis on what Letterboxd has, it is about a high-powered CEO puts her career and family on the line when she begins a torrid affair with her much younger intern, and that's pretty much what the trailer also shows. So yeah, I forget when the trailer came out, but I was like, we gotta watch this. I told that to my girlfriend. I was like, we're fucking watching this because Nicole Kidman is starring in it, and she's obviously very, very famous and well known for
AMC.
Yes, her.
She shows up all the time.
And ironically, when I watched it at AMC, they did not play that for probably good reason. But yeah, I mean, it's a great film. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it'll necessarily have like the lasting impact or sort of the sort of longevity that I think a lot of other A24 films have. But I think overall it's still a good film, very enjoyable to watch. It's very intense and obviously very sexual. A lot of crazy shit happens, and it's a roller coaster of a ride. It definitely has a lot of drama and a lot of great moments, but I don't think it's something that will, like I said, stick around in a lot of people's minds because you're not really gonna remember what exactly happens in the film. For me personally, I gave it a 3.5 stars or whatever, because the more that I thought about it, I was like, these characters don't really have a lot of depth. They're kind of just doing things for the sake of drama, in my opinion. But I think the sort of power dynamic is obviously very interesting and obviously a very pivotal point of the film. Then the next big thing that I did, other than watch Marvel What If Season 3, was play Life is Strange Remastered. I finally finished it. I don't know if Damian's going to play it with me, but just to give my general thoughts out in terms of the rest of the things that I played, I believe episode 4 and 5. So for one, don't play it on the Switch. This is a fucking warning. Do not play it on the Switch, because in episode 5, there's a bug where at a certain point, it will transition into another scene and the game just freezes. The game straight up freezes. So then I'm like, okay, what happened? So then I restart the game, I reboot it up, and then it freezes again. So apparently I looked on Reddit and it's apparently a bug when you have it in docked. So then I undocked it and it froze, and then like I think like 5 to 10 seconds later it unfroze, and then it kept playing. I redocked it, and then I could continue playing. So
That's crazy.
That's a known bug. So don't play it on the Switch. I'm not sure if it's still on sale on PlayStation. Me and Damian got it for like 40-60% off, something like that. We got it for like $20, like less than $20, because I think it usually retails for like 40 or whatever. But yeah, anyways, Life is Strange. It's a fucking great, phenomenal game. I had so much fun just like revisiting it because, like I said last time, I forgot a lot of like the key moments. And obviously towards the end of it, you remember a lot of that stuff, especially if you played the game. It's like, holy shit, what's happening here? Like, what does all of this stuff mean? Like, Max is messing around with time so much that it just fucks everything over pretty much. And the game kind of just lets you know that, like, hey, you know, like life is strange. You know, sometimes shit will happen and you'll try to fix it, or you think that it'll fix it, but in reality, it'll just cause other effects that'll happen, yada, yada, yada. So, you know, it's just a big old game about everything happens for a reason, but I think it does it in a very elegant and graceful way. And to those people that pick Chloe over Arcadia Bay, you know, leading up to that choice, I couldn't see it because the amount of people that fucking die leading up to it, I was like, okay, like most of the cast is like dead at this point. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But the moments leading up to that, Chloe really like puts on like a really great performance where you're like, oh shit, like, you know, Max is like, it's you or nothing kind of thing. And I'm like, is it though? So, you know, I still picked to save Arcadia Bay because I'm like, you see like all of these people die and you know what happens if you choose Chloe, the entire town is going to get wiped out. So I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. But I can see why people pick Chloe because, you know, shipping them is cute. It's fun. And yeah, so if you want to play that game, play that remaster on the PlayStation or Xbox. Don't play it on the Switch. But I definitely will have much more concrete, well thought out thoughts when I do my video on it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Life is Strange 1, like we said, I think it's still my favorite one. Like, I think it does everything it wants to do very well. The gameplay is great with the time travel. You know, that was a very, very awesome mechanic. I mean, that's what got me interested in the game in the first place. Because I'm like, holy shit, that's like, you know, because, you know, a lot of these Telltale games were coming out during this time. And it was a very popular genre during the 2010s. And, you know, no other game had this thing where you could like rewind time and like choose different options and stuff. And I love how the game plays into it towards the end of the game where it's like, you know, that's actually like bad. Like, you shouldn't be doing this. And all things usually lead to the same outcome anyway. You know, it does like a lot of that funny time travel stuff. But, you know, just gameplay wise, story wise, characters, like the game just feels like it's still probably one of the biggest feeling Life is Strange games in terms of like cast and just like all the plot points going on. And, you know, that always made me love this game like a lot, right? Like it's always really stuck out to me, you know. And I know some people say, oh, it's cringe or whatever, but, you know, teenagers are cringe in general. So like it's whatever. So, you know, I always like really enjoyed it a lot. And I don't know if I play it like immediately just because now there's a bunch of new games coming out like in February and stuff. But I would like to replay it maybe this year if there's some dead time. I would like to go back and play Life is Strange 1 because I've watched several playthroughs since then. You know, I love watching people play this game because, you know, it's always fun to watch. But it's been a while since I've played it myself, so it would be cool to replay it again. Because that comes with Before the Storm, right?
Yes. The Arcadia Bay collection or remastered collection does come with Before the Storm, whether you get it on the Switch or Xbox, PlayStation, whatever.
Yeah, so it's also been like forever since I played Before the Storm. So I like that game too. So but yeah, if I have some time, I definitely would like to, you know, replay those games again. You know, definitely not on fucking Switch though. So yeah.
Looks like we're gonna have to figure that one out at a later time. But anyways, Marvel What If Season 3. So we put this one off for a bit. This was coming out during Christmas, and I believe they've released one episode per day over the next 8 days or whatever. And we just didn't watch it because it was like fucking what if, whatever. But then, you know, we might as well finish it, right? You know, we might as well finish it because this is the final season that they're doing. And thankfully, it is just that. You know, it pretty much is more of the same, I would say, from what the previous seasons are. Some might even say it's the worst season. I might even say that just because, you know, I feel like anthology series in general should always be anthology series. Nothing should ever connect. But for some reason, at the start of season 1, they were like, fuck it, we're going to connect everything. So then we could do this Omega Ultron war thing, but like have all of the other characters from the other episodes come together. And I'm like, I don't really like that. And then they continue doing it in season 2. In season 3, yeah, it's pretty much just that. Even though they start off with the episode that I think people were the most excited about, which was like the Mecha Avengers thing, like the Gundam shit. Even that episode, I was kind of just like, I don't really care. Like, it's cool to see these Gundams happening, but a lot of it was kind of just like whatever. I was honestly surprised by the Howard the Duck episode. I was kind of entertained by that, just by how stupid and silly that one was. But everything else was kind of just like whatever.
I think the two that I actually liked, I did like the, even though like kind of boring in retrospect, like in terms of that what if like scenario, which is kind of like the major problem with the show to begin with.
Yeah.
I did like the Bucky and Red Guardian one. I thought that was kind of fun. I like both their chemistry together because, it's not really something you ever saw in the MCU, really. You don't really see those two interact, and they're both, Soviet Union or whatever. So I thought that one was pretty good. I like that one. The Ironheart one, when she's fighting like Mysterio, like that was kind of cool, I guess. Again, the Howard the Duck one, because it was fucking stupid. Like, I remember that one. But then you got a lot of other ones, like, like Shang-Chi's a cowboy or whatever. Like,
1872 or whatever.
Yeah, like, sure.
Honestly, I'm just so surprised that every single time one of these new seasons comes up, I'm just surprised on who returns to voice their characters, right? Because I'm just like, is that Haley Steinfeld voicing her character? And I'm like, that is Haley Steinfeld as Hawkeye. I was like, why is she here? I guess it's because it's just one episode, no big deal kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes just drag them in and just like, just do it real quick, Doesn't fucking Mark Ruffalo always voices his character in this? Yeah, and he's always like, I'm gonna be a little mean, like he doesn't know how voice act very well. Like every time he shows up, I always feel like he's giving it like 2%, which is fair. The Mecha Avengers one was like whatever. It felt very like, okay, I get, like, try to have like this heart to it with like, oh, I'm gonna like fucking sacrifice myself, like I'm Bruce Banner. I'm just like, okay, whatever, bro. I don't know. I feel like most of it is just kind of whatever. Honestly, even though I really don't like how they all combine at the end, because it kind of ruins the whole anthology thing they're going for. But at this point, you kind of know it's doing that. I actually did kind of enjoy the last episode just because I'm like, I do like the Watcher, so it's kind of cool to see that, I guess. But and Peggy Carter died, so sad, I guess. But I feel like this series got way worse after we saw Star Wars Visions and what was it called, Secret Levels and stuff. There's just way better anthologies out there at the moment that have totally different stories, totally different worlds, different art styles. It really adds a lot to each episode and makes them stand out, which is why I'm such a big like simp for Star Wars Visions. Like, I love Star Wars Visions a lot. And I just wish this was more like that. Like, it would have been nice if, honestly, I think it's mostly the art style that really kills me. Like, I really don't like how it looks in this fucking show. Like, it just looks very like bland, which is not even like, because X-Men 97 kind of goes for the same style, but it looks so much better, like, so I just feel like they just put no money or time into this show to really make it like flourish. Again, it would have been, mostly when you're dealing with a multiverse thing where Marvel, like, why not have different art styles, like have something that's 2D animated or something that's like maybe like anime looking or whatever, like the Mecha like Avengers, that could have been like a cool anime art style or whatever. But I don't know, it just seems like such a missed opportunity. Even when the Watcher was saying like, look, all these future things we could have done, it's just like lame. It's just like, oh, Thanos is like fucking like Wolverine, like cool. like it doesn't fucking matter. Like, She-Hulk's a samurai, like who's acting this, so I don't know, it just kind of comes down to being very mediocre and just like whatever. And it's always gonna, it's just like, I wish this was just better, like there's so many possibilities they could have done. The show could have been really cool. That's why I was so excited when it first got announced, but it ended up just being like very like toothless and very just like, who fucking cares. So yeah.
This is like 100% the one MCU thing that you could skip 100%. Like, you are not really getting anything here, because every single episode throughout these 3 seasons doesn't necessarily have something that really wowed me or something that I feel like was, exciting to watch kind of thing, like had me on the edge of my seat. Because, all of these episodes are like 30 minutes long. So there's only so much that they could do. And the visual style, the animation, like, even though like I think the best episode out of all 3 of these seasons is from season 1 with the Doctor Strange episode, that is still like a standout episode. Like, I think outside of that, looking back on like season 2, it's like, all right, whatever, I like that they went for a original character with like Kahori, but I I think also having her tie into like the whole multiverse thing and sort of having it, combined in the end, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So yeah, and with season 3, like it's just more of the same. A lot of it is just, setting up for other things that'll lead to this big and final conclusion to this what if saga. And yeah, a lot of these stories are just very miss. Like the Mysterio episode is obviously very, very interesting, where it's like the end of the world kind of thing, where it's like he won and like this is what he would have done if he won. And yeah, it's cool, but like, did anyone really ask for that? I think
no.
When it comes to a what if story that you have surrounding the MCU, there's a lot of other what if scenarios that people would have liked, other than like, obviously, what if Peggy Carter became Captain America? That was obviously the first episode. I think a lot of people would have wanted what if like the other half got snapped. I think that would have been very interesting to see what would have happened if the other side of the Avengers, what would they do? And they can make that like a 2-parter episode or whatever. Like there's so many other possibilities other than like, what if Agatha went to fucking Hollywood? Like, who cares about that? Like, the fact that was the second episode was already just like, all right,
I totally forgot. Yeah.
like this is gonna be terrible. I hate this already. So
yeah. It just acts like questions that no one fucking would ever ask. It's just like, who's asking these questions? Like, what if, like, what do you mean? So, yeah, it's just kind of like a giant miss. Like, if you're ever going to watch this series, like, don't, but also just watch the Doctor Strange one. Because, again, like me and Travis said, like, that is, like, the best episode. And it is really good, like, unironically, like, a very good episode. But, besides that, like, the rest is either mediocre or just not good. So, yeah, I'm just happy it's over so we can like move on from this. I know we got Marvel Zombies and like some other shit, but yeah, this is it was just a failed it was a failed experiment overall.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, we can move on to the news. So first we got there's a report that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and Halo the Master Chief Collection are both coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 and the PS5. So that's fucking crazy. So, we already know that Microsoft is pivoting away towards consoles. Like, I think the rumors are they're going to do one more console and they want to release it soon. And then I think that's about it. They're doing the whole campaign of like, this is an Xbox or this is an Xbox, right? So they kind of want like Xbox branding to be everywhere, but like not really have a space in the console market. So, I think they really are pivoting towards becoming like sort of like a big third party publisher rather than a console, like, guy, you know what I'm saying? So, and it's kind of like, having two of the biggest things that are usually only on Xbox on PC being, Flight Simulator and fucking Halo, like having that on the Switch and PS5, that's basically just like we lost, right? Like that is over, right? Them coming on PC, that's fine. Like PC is always like a middle ground, but going to the other consoles is crazy. That's like if you see like God of War on an Xbox, right? That's when like, oh, they're in trouble. Like Sony's in trouble, right? So, yeah, it's just kind of crazy to see this. We've been talking a lot about, Microsoft kind of just beefing it up the whole generation. Honestly, the last 2 generations, they've just been having a bad time and just haven't been able to find an audience since the 360. So it's kind of sad to see them just like kind of fall to be like, they're just pulling a Sega. It's like, okay, I guess we'll just be a publisher at this point. And I was talking to my brother where, having 2 major companies in charge of like the console ecosystem, I don't think is a good, is good. Because, Sony could just keep raising the prices of AAA games. Usually Nintendo does its own thing, but it would be good to have another, sort of person in that third slot. And honestly, I feel like Valve could probably take that slot pretty well if they really commit to making like consoles, because their Steam Decks are doing very well. So if they want to like make a stronger Steam machine again, or just make like a competitor to the Switch, like more so than the Steam Deck already is, I think that'd be a nice place for them to have that sort of like third space like value, you know what I'm saying? So but I guess we'll see in the future. Again, the rumors are they have one more console, so we'll see if Microsoft could do a Hail Mary here, but for the most part it is looking pretty bleak for them.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, Flight Simulator and the Master Chief Collection, Halo of all franchises under Microsoft's belt are potentially coming to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch 2 is crazy. as someone who has been recently playing the Halo Master Chief Collection randomly because I think it was on sale and my girlfriend wanted to play the older Halo games, I was like, sure, why not? It's been years since I played my personal favorite Halo 4. I have a lot of nostalgia for that one's multiplayer, obviously Halo 3, Halo 2, classic games. But, playing that on my PC, I was like, damn, like these games run very, very well. 60 frames per second, nice and shiny graphics. I'm like, okay, like this Master Chief Collection, honestly pretty damn good. And if it is actually going to come to the PS5 and Switch 2, that is going to be a lot of money for those companies, but also a lot of money for Microsoft, because like you said, Damian, like you've been spewing this whole time. It's like, yeah, they have not caught a break ever since the whole no used games. If you want to play games offline, it's called the Xbox 360. Ever since that E3 presentation, Microsoft has not recovered. Like that was literally the butterfly effect that caused them to snowball into where we are today. And it is crazy to see that before that console generation even happened, PlayStation already won with the PS4 in that console generation because Microsoft had to backtrack and try to fix everything that happened during that E3. And yeah, they still have yet to really have anything to pull people into the Xbox branding. And it seems like they have already given up. They already announced ahead of Indiana Jones coming to Xbox that, hey, it is coming to PS5 just in the spring. So, a lot of people like myself are just going to wait until it comes out on that because, for one, I don't want to test my PC to see if it'll actually handle it. And two, right, I would much rather play it on a console for a single-player game like that anyways. But yeah, whatever Microsoft does in the future, I hope the best for them because honestly, we do shit on them a lot during this podcast. I ain't gonna lie. But like you said, Damian, I think two major console competitors is very important because if you don't have PlayStation and Xbox going head to head with each other, PlayStation could just do whatever they want. They were the forefront in raising the games to $70. If you want to blame anyone, it's them. They are the reason why a lot of games are $70. So, without Microsoft, PlayStation could do whatever because Nintendo, they are going to fucking compete with them because they know where they are. They're like, well, where's he going to keep making good games? We're going to go at the pace that we want because they have the Switch now. And now that the Switch 2 is officially announced, we don't know what they're going to do after that, right? Because, like, what are you going to do from the Switch 2? What, the fucking Switch 3? Because, like, they've really hit it home with this sort of hybrid handheld console, sort of thing. So yeah, they're doing their own thing, and PlayStation could possibly just do whatever the hell they want if and when Xbox pull out.
Yeah, I just don't want them to keep raising prices. Like, I bought the new Dynasty Warriors game because I heard it was very good, and it was like, oh, it's $70. Oops, I forgot. So it always hits you when you buy a new game when it's like, oh, yeah, $70, please. So I'm like, okay, so so hopefully we get either Microsoft gets their shit together if they do release the next console or someone else comes in to really fill in that gap. So I guess we'll see. We're getting into this new generation of consoles very soon, at least with Nintendo. Sony probably want to keep with the PS5 a bit longer, but I guess we'll see. But PlayStation ain't doing so well either if you wanted to go to the next thing.
Yes, so they have now canceled 2 more live service projects from Bend and Bluepoint. One of them was based on God of War, and I believe that was from Bluepoint.
Bluepoint, yeah, it was Bluepoint.
The people that were doing, I don't even know what they were doing before them.
They did like remakes of Shadow of Colossus and the Dark Souls remake, or Demon Souls remake. Sorry.
Yeah, and Bend is the one that did Days Gone.
Yep.
So, they, both of those studios, they've done good games. They've had good projects, but, nothing that has necessarily stand out within their own right kind of thing, right? So to have those two studios work on live service games and then one of them be based on God of War, it's like, all right, well, I'm not exactly sure if those products were going to end up to the quality bar that they would have wanted. And on top of that, PlayStation with the whole live service thing, just give up on it. We saw what happened with Concord. You guys got Helldivers too, but for some reason you guys kept nerfing the guns, and that sort of killed the momentum for that game. Obviously there's still a lot of people that like to play it and whatnot, but when you have a PvE game where the point is to just have fun, shoot aliens, do that kind of thing. Obviously you want it to be challenging, but if players find out that hey, this gun's broken or this this strategy is good, then like just let them do it kind of thing. That's my opinion. Obviously, they didn't want that to happen, so they just nerfed a lot of the guns, a lot of the strategies that people were doing. That really pissed off the community, which like I don't blame them, because it's like, this is a fucking PvE game, like sort of one of a kind in the live service market, and you're kind of just killing it on its own. And then they also had to reverse their sort of strategy to have players have a PlayStation account, because they realize, oh shit, like a lot of people don't have PlayStation accounts in certain areas of the world, and you got to kill the player base like that. So, PlayStation are honestly their own worst enemy, because they struck out gold with Helldivers 2, and then, with all of these other live service projects, it was like Naughty Dog was like, all right, we either do this for like the next 10 years, or we do single player games. Obviously, they're like, we could just make more money doing single player games, and also that's safer. That's something that they have been known for to do for all these years. So to have these two studios who don't have the same repertoire and the same sort of catalog as Naughty Dog, Sucker Punch, Insomniac, to make them do live service games, I don't know what Sony was even thinking.
Yeah, apparently like Concord really shook them. Apparently some insiders were saying like Concord like really like made them reevaluate like what they should be even doing this generation, which is a good sign, because Concord was such a fucking failure. Like, again, the game barely lasted 2 weeks. I thought it would at least last the rest of 2024, but it didn't survive 2 weeks, and it costed like $200-400 million to make that.
Whatever random number people are throwing around.
Whatever random big number people threw around. It's still a shit ton of money, and Sony probably got really nervous about that, and I think it is smart for them to just cut their losses and just start canceling, all these live service games, because, it clearly isn't really working out for them. Like, I'm sure that, Bungie's making Marathon, and Fair Games is doing their like payday fucking game or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think those games are still obviously going to come out, and we're going to see how they do. But I'm really glad they're letting their single player companies just make single player games, because this whole live service push really hurt the PS5. Like, people always keep calling this a really weak generation in terms of PS5, and it sucks because there are very good games on that console. I know Ratchet and stuff are like on PC or whatever, but for the most part, they're PlayStation games, right? Like Astrobot, Spider-Man 2, which we're talking about, Ratchet and Clank. Like Sony X really been hard carrying, but
yes.
There was like a lot of good games on this console. It just sucks that there could have been way more. Like if Blue Point was actually making a game, it would have been nice. But now they all wasted all these times like making these live service games that no one was probably going to play for more than a month. And now they wasted like at least 3 years of dev time making these things, right? So it really sucks that we had to lose all that time, and the PS5 just in general is going to suffer because of it. But I'm hoping Sony really like looks at themselves and be like, okay, like let's just focus on what we're good at. That's what made the PS3 and PS4 so good to begin with. Let's just keep doing that. And if we have a live service game or two, that's fine. Like, like some games are just going to be built for live service, like Helldivers, and that's fine. You just need one or two, and you have a cash cow. There you go. You don't need more than one or two. So hopefully Sony gets the picture, and we go back to having really good single player games. Like I know people get sick of the cinematic 3D action games or whatever, but that's what they're good at, and those games are still very good, and I would rather have that than a bunch of live service games that just die in like a week, right? So hopefully Sony gets the picture. Hopefully the rest of the PS5's lifespan gets some good games, and hopefully the PS6 is just full on like, okay, we're just gonna focus on what we're good at and just continue from there. So it's a shame that we had to suffer a whole generation for this, but it is what it is, I guess. All right, so more, I guess, kind of PlayStation news. So the Until Dawn movie, the trailer came out for it. And I don't know what the fuck this is. This isn't Until Dawn. But he did say, I survive Until Dawn. So
yes,
it looks
they
like
did
it's
say
taking,
that. They did fucking say that in the trailer.
It does look like they're taking some really big creative liberties on it. I mean, honestly, just in general, I think an Until Dawn movie is just kind of a dumb idea to begin with. Like, I feel like the whole point of Until Dawn that made it so cool was that, you're basically playing a horror movie. You could decide who lives, who dies. You could do all this crazy stuff, right? Because, you're playing the fucking game. And, because the story itself is pretty generic, pretty generic horror, like, game movie thing. But that's what made it cool, because it's like, oh, I'm, like, playing this, like, like this horror movie basically. And that's what made it super unique and cool. With this one, it's not even fucking like, I don't know what's going on in this movie, but it's not Until Dawn. But also I feel like kind of misses the point in general of like what I would expect. Like if they did something like fucking Bandersnatch or whatever, I'm like, yeah, that would be kind of cool because like it's kind of keeping in theme what Until Dawn was. But this is not even. I don't even know what this is. If they call this like dark anthology like the other games, that would have been fine because okay, it's kind of fitting that mode and it could be its own thing. But it's called Until Dawn, so people want like that game into a movie, right? So it's kind of failing on all fronts. But I mean, it looks fine as just a horror movie, I guess. It just doesn't really have anything to really do with the source material, and yeah, I'm sure it would be a fun movie, but for the most part, like I don't know what this has anything to do with Until Dawn besides we have to survive Until Dawn. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest movie buff, even though I talk about movies a lot on this podcast. I know that the horror genre is filled with a lot of films that are just not great and not good, and this could be one of them, sadly. I watched the trailer earlier this morning and I was like, okay, yeah, like there's elements of Until Dawn in here, like the guy with the mask, with the monsters, etc. Like there's obviously elements there, but the way that the movie's setting it up, it's like, okay, you got like 13 lives or something.
Yeah,
and,
I'm like, where is that coming from?
And I guess these characters have to live until dawn through those 13 lives, and more clues get unraveled for them, revealed to them. But also, there's also different monsters during every single night. So it's also like not a roguelite in a way where it's like they're learning stuff, but they're also not. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. I wonder how the movie's actually going to play out, because I think that this could be a really fun time to watch. I don't think it's actually going to be a good movie, but I think that this will be like one of the good, bad horror movies, but also it's a video game adaptation, which is weird, right? Because like you said, David, everything that is good about Until Dawn, the reason why that game was so popular when it came out was because it was literally like you were playing a horror movie, and every mistake you made, the game auto-saved for you. So you couldn't go back and redo it. And that was the beauty of Until Dawn, and why a lot of YouTubers and all that stuff during that time were playing it, because it was like, okay, like I want to see if this content creator is going to fuck up where I fucked up, or is that character going to live, etc., etc. And like the speed at which you also do things also matters, because I have been playing the PS4 version with my girlfriend, I think like last month or something. And I remember I let her play because I was like, oh yeah, like if you do this part too slow, she dies. And when she died, she was like, no, she died. I was like, yeah, I think you did it too slow, because I think you always have a choice between the fast path and the slow path. And if you do the slow path, she's guaranteed fucking dead. But if you do like a mix, she's also going to die, because you're gonna get there and then she's dead instantly. But I think if you do every single fast path, she lives. I could be wrong. Hopefully I'm not, and no one in the comment section kills me for that. But yeah, pretty much the game, you are playing a horror movie. And that's why when I heard that they were making a movie about this, I was like, all right, what the fuck are they actually going to do? Because it's just like the story itself is not that interesting. Like it really is just like another like horror slasher movie kind of thing. There's obviously like mystery elements to it, and sort of like, the story gets unveiled to us, yada, yada, yada. But it wasn't the most compelling thing in the world, if I could say that. So I'm definitely going to be watching this because I am a A-list member for sure. It will be in theaters April 25th. So, if you're going to be one of those 5 people with me that's going to watch it in theaters, I will be there. Even if that Rotten Tomato score is like 20 to 30%, I don't care. I will be there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, like you said, let's say it'll be a fun time, but, don't expect to get high scores.
What I expect to get high scores, though, let's talk about it. We got Daredevil Born Again. We got the official fucking trailer, finally. So just leading up to this, a lot of Daredevil fans and like leakers online were like, it might be coming this day, it might be coming that day. And then I think one of the sort of like leakers within like the comic book scene was like, it's going to come out on this day at this time, yada, yada, yada. And then I guess Marvel was like, fuck. Whatever. We'll just go on the Daredevil Instagram account and then just put a time, 7 a.m. PT. And then obviously the entire fandom lost their fucking mind because, we've known about this series for so long and there has not been a trailer. And I knew that the trailer was going to come. It's just that they wanted to wait until it was closer to release, which we are now less than 2 months away, which is exciting. But yeah, so now we got the official trailer. I didn't know if it was going to be the same exact cut that we've been seeing through those leaks online, but it's a combination of new and old footage. And honestly, this is like the much better trailer. I'm glad that they waited so long as they did to give us this trailer, because the new footage is definitely worth it. But yeah, Daredevil Born Again, it pretty much is setting up what this Daredevil series is going to be about. It is a very much a follow-up to Daredevil on Netflix from seasons 1 to 3, because a lot of the things that they're talking about is them just like, reflecting on sort of like what their characters were doing prior to them being officially into the MCU. So yeah, I'm just glad that we are getting this show, this version of it anyways, because, before, or I guess after the strike, Kevin Feige was like, all right, let's see what we got cooking up, guys. And then he was like, this is fucking dog shit. He doesn't suit up until what, episode 4 or whatever? All right, everyone's fired. We're redoing it all. We're just going to take what worked on Netflix and then just make a pseudo season 4 to that and then just go from there. So, that's obviously what everyone wanted. But I think them even trying to recreate that same magic from before was never going to happen, because I will say this until the day I fucking die. The Daredevil television series is one of the most unique and probably the best thing ever within the superhero genre for like live action television movies, etc., because it doesn't feel like a fucking superhero thing. It doesn't. It feels like an actual like well-made piece of art, if I could even say that. Like, it is just such a good show, and it is definitely one of my favorite things ever. And that's why when this trailer came out, I was very excited for it. And yeah, Damian, anything you gotta say?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, like I've been going through the journey of watching all the Daredevil stuff. I watched season 1 and 2 last year. Fucking loved it. Season 1 especially was fucking like phenomenal. I loved every second of that show. I really liked the second season as well. And now that I'm done with What If and done all these other replay throughs, I'm definitely gonna watch Defenders and then watch season 3 of Daredevil, because I've been told season 3 of Daredevil is like the peakest of peak. Like I've been told that constantly.
Yes.
So I'm very excited to watch it. And just watching this trailer, even though I didn't watch season 3, like I already knew some stuff, like in terms of like who, like who's around or whatever, because we already know Kingpin was in Echo and stuff, so like I know he's not gonna like croak in like season 3 or whatever. So like I already knew about that stuff, so it wasn't like too spoilery. I do wonder how they're gonna fit everything in terms of like MC, because now they could play around being in the MCU, and they kind of have to. We were talking before the podcast, like how they're gonna fit the blip into it, and how they're gonna explain the snap. Spider-Man is a thing now, even though like people forgot, but Spider-Man is there, so like I wonder how they're gonna incorporate some of these things. Obviously, I don't want them to I don't want it to be fully like take over the show, like I don't want the Spider-Man to just be there, like at least not yet, like at least not like I want Daredevil to be his own thing, at least in his own show, right? If they do a Spider-Man 4, I would like to have them team up, because that would be sick, but in terms of the show, I would wonder how they're gonna fit everything in, from the MCU to the Netflix stuff, because it's kind of a shaky middle ground now, right? Like they gotta fix that shit, because like Jessica Jones, is she there? Like, I don't know how they're gonna do shit, but either way, it's really cool that Daredevil is finally in the MCU. It looks like they got what made the Netflix show so good to begin with. The fight scenes look good from the trailer.
Oh my god!
It looks brutal. It looks like like the conversations look really tense, like in the original. But we're going to see when it actually comes out, because, it was one thing to show the trailer, and it's another thing to actually watch the show and see if they really get it, So
yeah,
we'll see once it actually comes out. But I am feeling really good about it, because, like you said, like when I was watching season 1, I forget it's a superhero show. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, because, Matt isn't like fucking invincible. Like he's a guy, right? So like everything always feels so tense in that show, and I love it. Like it's great. So I'm really hoping to keep that same momentum going with season 4. Obviously, I need to watch season 3 and Defenders, but yeah, like Travis said, it's very fucking good. Definitely one of the best Marvel shows, like without a doubt. Like not even a question. Like it's a very good. So yeah.
Yeah, literally anything Marvel has produced within their MCU television shows has not touched Daredevil. Not even fucking close. Not even Loki. Like I like Loki, but Loki's good. Loki a lot too, Loki's good for different reasons. Daredevil's good just like as a show. I think Loki's good also as a show, but I think it also has to do more with like the superhero elements there, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, the Born Again trailer, I just love this fucking thing. I've watched it like 10 times over. The fact that it has 12 million views over 2 days is like insane. Obviously, you could tell that people are very excited for this show. People have been waiting for this for like 5, 6, 7 years like me. And yeah, the violence that this trailer brought was like on another level. Every single time they talk about it within interviews, I'm like, they're fucking joking. Like this shit is not going to hit the same marks as like Daredevil on Netflix, because it was like, fucking Kingpin slams someone's head into a door that, his head's not even fucking there anymore. Like, are they actually gonna do something like that? And I keep thinking about like what's like the sort of like one shot cut gonna be, because obviously Daredevil's very much known for that. So and apparently they are going to start filming season 2 before season 1 even premieres. So I'm like, okay, yeah, like they have a lot of confidence into this show. And I love that. I love that Marvel is like confident that like this shit's going to hit and this shit's going to land, because that makes me as a viewer confident in it also. But obviously, I'm going to try to temper my expectations until March 4th comes. But yeah, literally, I am so excited, so pumped. This is like my most anticipated thing out of everything all year. 100%. So
I'm just really happy they reworked the show, because when there was rumors that Karen and Foggy weren't even going to be in it, I'm like, now watching the show, I'm like, how the fuck were you going to do that? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what? So yeah, I'm very glad they reworked it. I love those two characters a lot. So yeah, we'll see once it actually comes out, but I'm very excited. And in the next coming weeks, we will be talking about Defenders and season 3 of Daredevil as well. So because I need to watch it, and Travis can rewatch it too. And I'm sure he's excited. So yeah.
I will be there.
All right. So last big of news that we have this week is the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. So this came out yesterday, and yeah, we finally have full confirmation that the Switch 2 is finally coming out. So this was just a very short trailer. This is very much like the rooftop party trailer for the original Switch. I actually rewatched that before this podcast, just to memories, and that was like fucking like 8 years ago or whatever. Like,
oh man, we're getting old. We're getting old.
I'm like, what the fuck? But anyway, I remember that very clearly when the Switch came out, and looking at this trailer now, I'm like, man, it's crazy that we're here again. But here we are, and basically all the reports were true. All the leaks and rumors and pictures we've gotten, it's basically a Switch, but it's stronger. That's basically the main thing. The screen's bigger, Joy-Cons got bigger. There's like IR sensors on the fucking Joy-Cons and the like fucking mouse or whatever. I don't know about the magnetic Joy-Con thing. It didn't look magnetic, but apparently it is. I don't know. There's like a C button on the Joy-Con now or some shit. So all that stuff. Just bigger, better Switch. That's basically the main thing. The dock is curved now. Big ass 2 right there. I see a lot of discourse on Twitter. I don't know why this is discourse on Twitter. Like fucking like, oh, the Switch 2, bad name. I'm like, what the fuck do you want it to call it? Like, people wanted the Super Switch, but I'm like, people are going to get so confused. Like, yeah, we won't get confused because we know what we're buying. But some, like, parent is going to be like, oh, little Timmy got a Switch already. Like, oh, a Super Switch. What the fuck? Like, I don't know what that is, I think them hedging that bet and just calling it a Switch 2 was the smart play. Just Switch 2. That's what it is, right? And like you were saying before earlier, it's going to be hard for Nintendo to really innovate off of this console, because that was another thing I've been hearing. Like, people are kind of sad it's not as innovative as the other consoles. But honestly, I don't really mind. Like, I think the Switch is like one of the most perfect consoles in terms of like concept, right? It's a home console, and you take it out, and then you can play as a portable console, like easy, And things like the Wii revolutionized motion controls with the waggle, 3DS had a 3D, Switch obviously with its gimmick, and the Wii U with the fucking gamepad. But, a lot of those times, like, I get sick of the gimmick after a while. Like, I don't want to waggle. I don't want to look at the gamepad. So, like, I feel like I'd never turn on 3D on the 3DS. So, I think the Switch being mostly just, like, you could take it out or leave it docked if you want. It's like a choice. And Nintendo's just been focusing on, like, core gameplay for all their games. I think that's great. So I'm happy the Switch is getting a second version of itself, just new graphics, it's just stronger. That's all it is. I'm happy about that. And, it won't be coming out for a while, because the next big direct for it is going to be April 2nd. So that's when we're going to learn about probably like what's coming out on the thing, its release date, pre-orders, like, make sure you're saving up money now so you can pre-order it when it comes out. I'm definitely going to be doing that. I might pick up a few extra ships for that. But, we won't know more until April 2nd. So that means it probably won't come out till maybe summer or maybe fall. So it's going to be kind of a big drought for Nintendo, but I'm really excited to see what's really going to be coming out for this thing, because, we already saw one game, which is Mario Kart 9. Again, some discourse on Donkey Kong's design. I think he looks pretty good.
I love that shit. I love him.
I kind of like that Donkey Kong design, but I know some people really don't like it. I like it, but The game already looks cool. Like, it looks like there's 24 racers because the track is fucking ginormous. But we'll see. I'm not game explained. I'm not like looking at a 2-second clip for like 30 minutes. But it is.
If you see here and you zoom in times 200, you can see it's Pauline. It's like, all right,
someone did that. I was like, that's Pauline. I'm like, that's crazy. So,
but. Yeah, Switch 2, it got announced when I was at work. So when I was on break, I was like, oh, okay, let me go see what this trailer is. And yeah, the fucking leaks ruined it, honestly. I think that, like, obviously people want to know what the Switch 2 is and like what it looks like and all this other stuff. And, it sucks that like the leakers got their hands on it and put it out online. And like, I think Hideki Kamiya said like some really nasty things
like,
about the
leakers.
leakers.
If you leaked it.
Yeah, you're an idiot. I saw that, yeah. You should be covered in poo top to bottom. I was like, what is he yapping about?
Yeah, my boy's yapping, yeah.
Anyways, Switch 2 reveal, I think that this was probably the best thing Nintendo could do in terms of what was given out online, right? Because it's like we all know like what it looks like, what it's going to be. It's just a better Switch, right? Which is fine. It's a taller screen, taller Joy-Cons. I think the design itself, the fact that they were smart enough to have the colors just be on like the controllers and not actually on the Joy-Cons, because like obviously the most unique part about the Switch is the colorful Joy-Con. So, having the base Switch 2 just be, all right, guys, it's all black, and then you have the color or Joy-Cons. That'll make it easier for like parents and like people who aren't into gaming as much to know like what's a Switch and what's a Switch 2, right? Because, it's like very subtle. And then you have the logo, which was also leaked. It's just the Switch logo with a fat ass 2 next to it. And you know what? I like that. I think that is fine calling it a Switch 2 because like I think everyone has been calling that for like years now at this point kind of thing. And also when they publish their games, it'll be easier for you guys to notice what's a Switch game and what's a Switch 2 game because it'll have the fat ass 2 next to it. So yeah, obviously Nintendo isn't really doing much in terms of what like going from one console to the next in terms of like looks, like what the console actually looks. That's completely fine because, the Switch has been so successful. It's been doing well. They don't have to change anything up there. They just have to make it stronger. And that's what it looks like. Just judging by this one Mario Kart 9 trailer, I'm like, or teaser, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's like, okay, yeah, like that. That's Mario Kart 9 on the Switch 2. It looks great. I love the new art style. It looks a lot more just like animated and just like more personable, like more personality to these characters, sort of like Mario Wonder-ified, if you will. So yeah, I love that Nintendo is doing that with their characters now because I think they've now realized that like, over the past couple of years or so, I guess ever since like the new Super Mario Brothers era on the DS, they've been kind of boring with Mario, right? Like Mario's kind of looked the same throughout all of his games, yada, 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 just like making him look more cartoony and more, colorful. All of that other stuff is going to be a lot of fun and great. 24 players, that's going to be fucking chaotic. Mario Kart is already a chaotic game as is. Now you got 24 people online racing against each other. I've seen people say multiple times, if I get 24th place, I might end it all. And you know what? I might be right there with them because like getting 24 out of 24 is kind of crazy. But yeah, I am excited to see what the Switch 2 is going to do. Obviously, we won't know more until April 4 or April 2nd, I meant, for that whole direct where they're going to showcase the console and obviously a lot more games. We're probably going to get a 3D Mario game, maybe like a Zelda remake, remaster, whatever, maybe some other first party surprises that we don't even know about. Like Nintendo has been very good about that, especially over the past couple of years with like Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, Mario RPG, Mario and Luigi Brothership. Those 3 games, people had no idea if those were ever going to be on the Switch, a brand new Mario RPG. And now we got fucking all 3 of them and then some with like the Mario and Rabbids games. So Nintendo has been cooking. They've been cooking for a while because they saw what happened with the fucking Wii U where they had no games for like however many years. And now PlayStation is doing that as well where now they have no games and they're suffering from it. So yeah, even though all of those leaks came out, I think that this was a great trailer, really great, like first showcase because now developers and whatever, if they have games planned for Switch 2, they can now say, yeah, it's coming to the Switch 2 instead of, I think the Croc developers were like, yeah, it's coming to the next Nintendo console. Yeah. So,
yeah,
they don't have to tiptoe around that anymore. So yeah, I'm excited for that. And then also if you are in New York, LA, and Texas, I believe you can play it in in your area kind of thing. So I wonder how that's going to work out, because obviously I'm
probably
going to
get a New York Nintendo store, I would imagine.
I think it's actually somewhere else, because
is it? Okay.
It's at Center 415. So I'm gonna try to register for that in like less than an hour and see how that goes. There's like multiple days, multiple time slots, and it's a raffle system, which I think is great, because like a first come first serve basis would have been fucking terrible. But I think having it do a raffle system, and also having it through the fact that you need a Nintendo account, is also a good thing, because I'm sure they're probably gonna check if you actually played fucking games on your account. So we'll see about that. We'll see how that goes. If I am going, I am going to be fucking hyped. But yeah, Switch 2, it's finally real. It's finally a real thing, and now leaks hopefully will stop happening for Nintendo, because I think that the beauty of Nintendo Directs has always been the fact that we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen, right? So hopefully the leakers won't leak anything else from now until then.
Yeah, it helps that they're making like 20 million of these fuckers. Like they Nintendo said, we're making a lot of Switch 2s.
Yes, they know.
So I really do hope they have a thing on their website we could buy directly from Nintendo, and you could like put in your Nintendo account. And like you said, maybe like checks your activity, if you played recently, if you played games before or whatever. So you could just get in, get out. Because man, like I hate buying new consoles. Like I like getting a new one, but buying a new one is so stressful. So I'm really hoping it's a nice streamlined like effort. I could just get my Switch 2 and get the fuck out. So again, getting the Switch was easy because no one fucking wanted it at first, because like the Wii U happened. I need a pre-order. I walked into a fucking GameStop. I'm like, can I get one? It's like, all right, all right. Yeah. So, but yeah, obviously now different beasts. We'll see when it comes out. I mean, launching with Mario Kart 9 is probably like insane. So, which I'm assuming it is launching with Mario Kart 9. So
yeah, because like what else are you guys gonna launch it with, right? Like,
yeah, Mario Kart 9 is a big one to launch with. So that thing's gonna be an infinite money machine, and I'm ready for it.
Yes, Nintendo has found out the infinite money glitch, and yeah. So now let's get to the last part of the show. I've given me and Damian homework once again, and I tasked us to play Marvel's Spider-Man 2, a new game plus, and also just like replay the game in general, because the game is coming to PC. So this is giving us a perfect opportunity to let other people know whether or not the game is still worth playing, as someone or as a pair who has played it when it launched, and now we have played it again after the game is now fully quote unquote complete, if you will. Right. So yeah, I guess first up, I still love this game, even though there's a lot of problems and flaws with it. Like I recognize that. Like the fucking third act, now that I replayed it, I'm like, I fucking hate this. Especially now that I know the fact that, Brian Intihara, he went on a podcast, and he was like, yeah, so like pretty much like the Sony execs, they were like, like we see what you guys are doing, but we aren't here every day. We're not gonna make it. So like we're going to have to cut like the back half of the game, which is why as soon as Venom enters the picture, by the way, full spoilers if that was if that wasn't obvious. So once Venom enters the picture, the game just fucking takes a nosedive narratively. Yeah. Like for like Peter. For Miles though, Miles is still like his story, as soon as he confronts Martin Lee, I'm like, yo, this shit is like peak. Like the fact that he's like reforming him and like making all of these right decisions to like make sure that like, he lives and all of this other stuff. I'm like, all right, yeah, like Miles is fucking good. But as soon as Venom enters the picture, the story just takes a nosedive. And it goes by so fucking fast, because I didn't even notice, but like it was literally like 3 hours from like Venom to end credits, and I'm like, that is insane for the amount of shit that happens as well, where like the city gets taken over, you got like Venom running around doing all of this other crazy shit, and I'm just like, I feel like that this could have been a whole other game. There was at least like another like 2 to 3 hours here that Insomniac had planned. Like I'm sure that there was going to be a fight scene with Venom just like in the city, because I think that was like a leaked build or something like that. Like there was like a potential fight. Because we see that within the trailers or whatever, like a cinematic of like him and Peter and Miles fighting.
Yes, yeah.
And like people were like, why was that not in the game? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Ask the goddamn Sony exec. So, like that is like such a major problem with this game, where it's like, like Venom was like a huge selling point. Like that was like the main villain that they announced with this game. And the fact that they had to cut a lot of the content with it. Cause right before, I think, what's it called? Tony Todd RIP.
Yeah.
He said that
Yeah, like a bunch of lines, right?
yeah, he said that there was like so many lines that were just cut, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then people were like, oh, it's gonna be like a Venom spinoff, and I'm like, I don't think they're gonna do that anymore. And on top of that, I think it was just like gonna be part of the game. That was just gonna be part of like the main game, but they just had to cut it all out because they had to meet that October release date. Which I looked it up. I looked up like what Sony games released on the PlayStation 5 for that year, and outside of Spider-Man 2, the last game to release before that from Sony Computer Interactive was fucking MLB. And I'm like, yeah, they had nothing. They had nothing in 2023. So if they delayed Spider-Man 2, they just would have been royally fucked. So, but still, overall, I had a really great time replaying Spider-Man 2, even though, that last part of the game was definitely rushed and not exactly the best. I still ran into like some bugs, glitches, what have you, but I still had a great time playing it on New Game Plus Ultimate difficulty just for the fun of it. And yeah.
Yeah, you literally echo my thoughts like exactly. So I was going to literally bring up the exact same thing. So, at first, when I first played the game the first time, I enjoyed everything about it. I'm like, yeah, this game's fucking awesome. Like, whatever, like, this game is great. Even though I thought the third act was like, oh, that was weird. But yeah,
Yes.
now replaying it with a more critical eye, obviously I still fucking love the game. Like, I think the game is still awesome. But like you said, the game really takes a nosedive after Venom. Like that's right after you play as Venom and kill Kraven, which is awesome. After that point, when it turns into Web of Shadows, that's when the game really takes a fucking nosedive. Just because, narratively anyway, because it's just like things are happening way too fast. And like you said, it's like 3 hours. It's basically like 3 hours. They're doing this whole symbiote invasion arc. I'm like, you can't do that. Like, honestly, I think I told my brother this. I think the game should just ended with Miles versus Peter, like as like a final boss. Like I think there was just, it kind of has a Spider-Man 3 problem where it's just too much shit in it. Like they want to fit so much in it. And honestly, like the Sony Spider-Man games like tend to do that a lot too. The first game did it too, where it's like, oh, let's have the whole Sinister Six at like the last act and stuff. Like I don't know why they keep trying to cram as much stuff as they can at the last act. Like I guess to make it bombastic and memorable, but it just ends up feeling like really messy and like it's just too much, right? And you feel even more with this one because like when it jumps the fucking shark with the symbiote stuff, and like two, it's just like not enough time. Like, you barely see Venom. You play as Venom, which is awesome. Then he shows up a few other times, and then you fight him in the final boss, and that's it. That's like the only things Venom gets in this whole game. And I really feel like they really should have just like saved them for the third game. Like I know they want to do Green Goblin for the third game, but I really feel like if they want to do a whole Web of Shadows story, they should have just done it for like a whole ass third game. You could have had the other villains get infected by symbiotes. I know most of them die from Kraven, but I also don't really like that aspect either, but whatever. But if they did do a third game that was like Web of Shadows, they could just remade Web of Shadows, but good. Like have like all these villains turn to symbiote versions of themselves and do all this shit, make it a whole ass game. That would have been pretty neat. And it could have made this game just focus on Kraven and the Black Suit. Because honestly, like I think the Black Suit arc also isn't very great in this game because it lasts like 3 in-game days. I think less than that. Because when I was playing the game, I did all the content. I was playing the game, I was doing all the side quests, and in this playthrough, I was just going through the main story. And when you get the Black Suit, when you get really late, but you get a Black Suit, and you basically only lasts like a few missions, and that's it. And like MJ calls Peter and Peter's kind of a dickhead, but then they can't really like process that because then he fights Lizard, he comes home, he sleeps, and then MJ already knows it's like a fucking alien because he's just like, oh my god, he's like, so it barely lasts like 2 seconds. Like they know it's not Peter like that's being a dickhead, it's like the suit. And I feel like the best part about the Black Suit is when it lingers for a long time. And it kind of just like, it like detaches Peter from like everyone else. Like, it's like an abusive relationship, basically. It's like, hey, don't talk to anyone. Like, you just need me, the symbiote or whatever. And, I feel like they kind of like fumbled that bit up just because they had to fit in the Venom stuff towards the last act of the game and do this whole Web of Shadow stuff. So I feel like if they kind of like had a narrative just split between Kraven and the Black Suit, I think that would have fit better and then save Venom for the next game. But, I still really enjoy the story. Like you said, all the things with Miles, I really like a lot. Like, I know people memed on, like, oh, his whole plot is just, like, essay, like the SpongeBob.
Yes.
Like, he's just writing But, I think the things with Martin Lee was very well done. Like, I think Miles' arc throughout all these Spider-Man and Insomniac games it was handled really well. You get, like, his, like, tragic stuff in the first game. You get more of his origin stuff in Miles. And then this game, he's really learning how to become Spider-Man, and then becomes basically the Spider-Man at the end, right? And that's really sick. And I think they did that stuff really well. And, I also really like the chemistry between all the characters. I think that stuff is really cool. I like Peter and Harry's relationship, Miles' relationships with, all his friends and stuff. Like, I think that stuff is all written really well. It's just kind of like Sonic wanted to do way too much with, like, not a lot of game time to do it. Because the game is only, like, 13 hours if you're doing just the main story. Mm-hmm. And, that's just not enough time with the amount of story they want to tell. Like, I'm not saying the game should be, like, longer or shorter or whatever. I'm just saying, like, maybe just cut some things down, right? Like, I think you should just cut Venom. But I feel like they promised Sony, like, this is a Venom game, basically. Yeah. And then they couldn't back away from that. So, and that really sucks because it hurts the overall narrative of the game. And, that's kind of like the main discourse about the game anyway is the narrative. And I do think it does fall like pretty flat towards the end, but I still enjoyed it. I still enjoyed parts of it, and I'm still excited to see what Spider-Man 3 brings to the table. But we'll say, like, Sonic just chewed way too much with, like, how much content was in the story and, like, how much stuff they could really fit in, right?
Yeah.
But besides the narrative stuff, this game is awesome. Like, just in terms of gameplay, like, the swinging never felt better. I love the web wings. I love the different abilities you can use in the air so you get more distance and air time. The combat is a lot of fun. Like, I know there's less of gadgets and stuff, but in the first game, I basically just use Web Blossom and, like, some gadgets. Like, I use the air well a lot, and that's it. So I feel like this game really condensed it to, like, all the gadgets are useful and all the abilities are useful, and you can, like, chain them together, and it feels very fun. Peter with the symbiote suit is very fun. Miles is always fun with his Venom powers as well. All the main missions are just fucking peak. Like, obviously some of them are just filler for, like, here's, like, we're introducing, like, a side quest activity and then you do it. And those are kind of lame, but it's whatever. But every single main mission, like, the set pieces, all of them are bangers. Like, literally almost all of them are a banger. Like, obviously actually it kind of falls off a bit, but, like, man, obviously the main mission with Sandman is amazing. Chasing down Lizard through, like, the water and shit. Like, all that shit is just so good. Obviously the Venom portion, like, all the gameplay set pieces are fucking, like, amazing. Like, I love all of them, but it's basically just the narrative that kind of brings the game down a bit, which is, like, kind of a shame. So
yeah, I think the main problem with the Insomniac Spider-Man games is the fact that they're games, right? Like, a lot of the narrative choices are because of their games, right? Like, I know a lot of people don't really like the anti-Venom suit, which I didn't really talk about within my video, but, like, the anti-Venom suit, it's like, okay, yeah, like, they introduced it as a way to take down Venom, but also as a way for the player to continue using the Venom powers, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, otherwise it would have been a waste to introduce it for, like, the 3 to 4 hours that you had it, and then you can't use it anymore until, like, the post game. So they were like, all right, well, we'll just introduce the anti-Venom suit, which I think was fine. I still really like the
I don't mind anti-Venom suit. I mean, it makes sense. It's a thing in the lore anyway, so, like, I don't mind anti-Venom.
Yeah, like, I really like the suit in and of itself. So, just to have that also be, like, a reason why we can continue to use these symbiote powers is fine. So, I think that is just, like, a main problem with these games is the fact that they are games. So there has to be a reason why certain things are happening for gameplay's sake, but also that hinders the narrative a lot of the time. I disagree with you on the sort of, like, Sinister Six stuff because, this is something that this Peter Parker has been in the game for years and years and years. And, obviously, like, Doc Ock is the one to sort of bring them all together kind of thing. But, I do agree that this game was just really just, like, jam-packed with shit. There was definitely, like, a certain point that they could have cut the game off. But, Insomniac Games just wanted to keep going and keep going. And at a certain point, Sony was like, well, we got to meet this October release date, so you have to cut some shit out. So I'm assuming they cut out a majority of Venom stuff because, we get so far into the game and then Harry finally becomes Venom, which is something that I think a lot of people saw coming. But then once it happens, it's like, all right, shit, like, we got to fucking wrap it up, guys. Like, we got, like, 3 hours left. It's like, all right, well, this is what we got. This is all of the ideas that we wanted to do with Venom, because otherwise they wouldn't have gone back to it. Like, they wouldn't have been able to do the Web of Shadows kind of story. They wouldn't have been able to introduce the sort of Venom wings, if you will, which was, like, a fucking crazy moment for me personally, because I was just like, okay, yeah, like, we got the sort of, like, Donny Cates, like, spiral swirl thing going on. I'm like, all right, like, that's kind of cool. And then he had the fucking wings. I was like, oh shit, like, that is still, like, a really cool moment for me personally. But Yeah, it is just such a shame that this game was kind of rushed because even now, today, playing it with the newest update, the game still has a lot of bugs and glitches that you will notice. Like, I still ran into like a random encounter with these symbiotes that one of them was just stuck inside of the bus, and I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, like what the fuck's going on here, guys? Like, there's like a bunch of little random glitches and whatnot. Sometimes like the camera will like spaz out or whatever. So this
I
definitely.
had Oh, I was
Go
gonna
on.
say I just had a comment. I don't know if it happened to you. Like the game like stutters a lot whenever it switches scenes. I don't know if you had that. Like
I don't think so. Maybe I was just too busy like streaming or
it
whatever.
was really weird. 'Cause I don't remember that being an issue when I first played it because it's like SSD and stuff. Like whenever it switches scenes, like and then it goes to the other scene. Like, it felt very jarring every time it happened. I don't know why that was going on, but
Yeah.
that was a new thing that didn't happen my first playthrough. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is definitely like the buggiest first party PlayStation 5 game that I played so far, which is kind of
Yeah.
weird, especially since, when you consider Insomniac Games, they literally have been carrying the PlayStation 5 generation so far. We've had Miles Morales, and then we also had the Spider-Man remaster, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and now Spider-Man 2, and then soon to be Wolverine. It's like they're about to have like 5 games under their fucking belt for this one console alone, and like all of the other studios, they got like remakes, remasters, whatever, but they haven't had like their own original game on the console yet. Like Naughty Dog hasn't had their PlayStation 5 flagship title yet, which is crazy to say, but Insomniac Games has been carrying this console generation so far, and Spider-Man 2 was one of those games, and without it, like I said, they would have had nothing for 2023 holiday because I personally think they should have delayed it like a little bit if they truly wanted to expand that final act the way they probably would have wanted. But obviously, we wouldn't have had any games for the holiday season and for the PlayStation 5, and that would have affected Sony's numbers, PlayStation numbers, all that other stuff. So, it's a cascading effect. And then on top of that, you also have to consider that the ransomware attack happened like a few months later, and all of that other shit happened. So it might have even affected Spider-Man 2 in some regard. Anyways, yeah. So, I wish that, we did get more time with the game in a way, but at the same time, it's like this is the product that they gave us. It's not entirely Insomniac's fault. I still believe that they are one of the best developers to have the Spider-Man license because they've given us anything but like slop. Like they have given us time and time and again what the fans have wanted, and Spider-Man 2 is just like a blunder for now.
Yeah, like I don't think the game is like bad at all. Like I think the game is still really good. Like I like really enjoy my time with the game. I just feel like they went like too like crazy with the third act. And even if Sony was just like pressuring them to like like hey like we gotta finish this shit. I feel like they probably could have been like okay maybe they could have ditched the whole Web of Shadows like plot line and just made it like you just chase fed him around, and maybe he tries to do something, but don't make it as crazy as it was trying to do in this third act. Right? It was just like too crazy for the amount of time they had. Like I appreciate them going for it, I guess, but like goddamn, like it was a lot. But people saying it's like the worst Spider-Man game or whatever. Like, I really disagree with that. Like I really don't think that. Like it's still really good. But it just has problems narratively, and obviously some of like the bugs and stuff is because I felt like Sony probably did get pressured by Sony to be like, hey, like we need this shit, like the PS5 have just nothing, like we need it. So it's very unfortunate that we're put into that position to begin with. Like maybe if another company was making another first party game, they could have delayed Spider-Man 2 so it could become even better than it was. But unfortunately, it didn't have that luxury. But again, I think a lot of the complaints it gets online, they're valid, but I also feel like people are very like over exaggerate, like oh, this is like the worst game ever, right? Like it's not. Like
and also very entitled, but
yeah, like again, you're totally free to feel that way about any game. Like I won't tell you to not feel that way about the game. Like narratively, yes, I do think it is like a step back from like the other two Sonic Spider-Man games. But I still think again, I still think it improved a lot in terms of gameplay and just like web swinging. Like God, like swinging in this game feels so good, man. Like it's like it's so good. But yeah, I totally understand why people would be upset with the narrative portion of the game, and it kind of hurts like people being like excited for the next one because I didn't like the story in this one, like why should I care about the next one now, right? So hopefully Sony kind of reels it back in and like probably finishes up this trilogy in a satisfying way before it all ends. And, like you said, I don't even know if we're getting a Venom spinoff at this point. It would be amazing if we did, but at this point I don't even know. Like I would like them to just make Spider-Man 3 as good as they can make it and like end it strong, right? So I guess we'll see when it comes out. But in terms of like the symbiote stuff, like I think they they did the best they could with the time they were allotted, I guess, but it still ends up being a bit disappointing, which is a shame because every time the symbiote shows up in anything, I feel like it's either rushed or it's bad. Like, I don't know why this always happens. So, but
and it's because of Sony. It's because of Sony. I'm telling you, my, crazy theory crafting here. But yeah, Insomniac Games, they tried their best given the circumstances and everything like that. I completely forgot in the post-credit scene that they teased at Cindy Moon. I was like, oh shit, yeah. Like that was that's a thing. So, I don't know if they're going to do like a Miles Morales 2 game or whatever, or something in between, because, obviously Spider-Man fans are hungry for more content as seen by them wanting DLC so fucking desperately, despite them hating the game so much. Yeah. But yeah, just let Insomniac cook. I keep sounding like a fucking Insomniac fanboy because certain Spider-Man fans don't know what it was like to play a Spider-Man game before Insomniac came around, and they don't realize how good Insomniac Games is as a game development studio, where they have years of experience. And, their first crack at a open world Spider-Man game was like really fucking good and literally the best open world Spider-Man game ever, right? So, they don't know what it was like to play games like, Shattered Dimension, freaking Edge of Time. Like, they are good games in their own right, but they aren't exactly like, something that, is like open world and it has like that large scope and everything like that. So,
because I was gonna say, like the last time we had like really good open world Spider-Man games before the PS4 Spider-Man came out was Spider-Man 2 and Ultimate Spider-Man on PS2. Like those two were great. But then after that, I know people really like Web of Shadows. Like, the Web of Shadows is very divisive. I don't like Web of Shadows. Like, I was very disappointed with that game. I've always been on record being like, I was so disappointed in that game when I played it the first time, because I'm like, what is this? But, I know people like that game, but whatever. But we didn't really have a lot of really good open world Spider-Man games until that one. Like, I know people like the Amazing Spider-Man 1 game, but, they just weren't up to par with the PS2 ones that came out before that. And Shadow Dimensions is fucking amazing, but, it's not really that same type of game. So it wasn't really until Insomniac came around where it's like, oh, we got a really good open world Spider-Man game, and like they got it. Like, they got the characters, they got like the story was really good. Like damn, they nailed it. And then they did it again with Miles. Like, oh, that was really good. And then Spider-Man 2 is kind of the first kind of flub in terms of narrative wise. And again, like, I feel like people always like, oh, now they're bad. Like, everything they do is bad. You can't make one mistake. So like, I'm gonna let them, like, I'm gonna see like how the whole thing shakes up before I like really like put a pin on like this Insomniac verse of like Spider-Man. But I still do like it. Like, even if they have fumbles here, like I still do like what they're going for. And I still like a lot of like how the characters are written and stuff. So, and I'm obviously a Spider-Man fanboy, and I'm a fucking Insomniac fanboy, so I'm always gonna like what they put out. But I can understand why people were disappointed with the game, even though I do feel like it's a bit much sometimes. But yeah.
Just let them cook, give them the time, give them the brevity, especially since they had a ransomware attack literally happened last year where like a lot of shit got leaked and whatnot. So, just like let them do their thing. They will give us a product worthy enough to be called Spider-Man 3, Wolverine, etc. So yeah, I'm sure whatever they reveal and do next, it is going to be exciting, and it's going to be good because they have not shown us otherwise. Despite Spider-Man 2's last act fumbling a bit, even then it's still a very fun and worthwhile game, and I hope that the PC release doesn't have as many problems and bugs as the other PlayStation PC ports.
Yeah, and I'm glad Insomniac is really like, I felt like they kind of learned from this game, because I feel like Wolverine was supposed to come out way sooner, but it seems like they're really like taking their time with it, which is good. They want that game to be the best it could possibly be. So hopefully when Wolverine comes out, people will be like pretty nice to Insomniac again, because I do think they've been doing really well this generation. Like, again, Rift Apart, fucking love Rift Apart, and I still really do like Spider-Man 2. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with Wolverine and their future Marvel games, and Ratchet at some point.
At some point, but yeah, is there anything else you'd like to add, Damian?
Nope, that's everything.
All right, so that's it from us. The Travis and Damian podcast, episode 155. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.